where I partner with Alan, Patience, Hawa, and Brenda. It's quite it's an interesting organization as well that focuses on it's a leadership consultancy. We could go to today we will be reviewing Contagious, Why Things Catch On by Jonah Berger. We could go to the next. Now, this particular book for me was quite interesting, given that it's in line with the space I'm usually exposed to, which is marketing. So usually when we are looking at marketing our products, we usually focus on the marketing mix. We'll look at place, we'll look at price, we'll look at promotion, we'll look at the product, to mention but a few. I'm sure most of you are quite familiar with the marketing mix. However, with this particular book, it brings in that cherry on top, detailing on why things catch on. Why can two of us sing the same song and one goes viral and the other one doesn't? So why? What causes this? I personally found it quite interesting. It was an interesting read, and I encourage anyone who hasn't read it to go ahead and read it after this review. And it talks about the major 6 principles. He highlights major 6 principles that are a reason, according to him, that some things go viral, some things become bigger than others, some products are pronounced more than others, some people have buy-in when it comes to their product. And the first principle is social currency. So going to the next one, with social currency, we are talking about how does someone feel when they are talking about your product? Because the fact is, people love to talk about themselves. So the more you make people feel like insiders, the more they get this extra pride to talk about it, because knowing that they're allowed to specific places that not many are allowed to makes them gain social currency and social influence. It makes them cool. It makes them, they have something to talk about. So you need to ask yourself, do you make people feel like insiders in your business? Do people feel like they know your brand so well that they're happy to associate with it? And as the next, we'll look at inner remarkability. He highlighted a very interesting story that we are seeing in this image. 2 gentlemen, Brian and Cliff, were talking about different business ideas. And Cliff was actually eating a hot dog, and Brian was eating a hot dog, and he mentioned Cliff's name, but because of the hot dog in his mouth, he said Criff. So that's why they got the idea of the name for their hot dog, their hot dog restaurant. But interestingly, in their hot dog restaurant, there was a booth. Now you would have to enter this booth, which was, you get a call, there is a phone, you call, and they'll tell, there is already a poster of please don't tell. So that whole thing of please don't tell others, that it just makes you want to tell more people. It's like someone telling you don't press this button. For some reason, I don't even know why we people are like that. We feel the need to press that button. Like, why is it outstanding? So people would enter that booth, call, and they make reservation, and boom, once the receptionist opens the door, you find yourself in a bar, like you can see in the image shown there. So you enter in a bar. So now there is this whole transition from a hot dog restaurant to a bar, and they were taking in reservations. After 3, no more, because the place was almost full. So you can imagine the curiosity of everyone. You can imagine the pride on everyone who attended, knowing that they are able to access a place that was more of a surprise. It's a hot dog area than a whole bar situation. It gave the whole Criff dog inner remarkability. And at the next point, we'll look at the choices we make signal identity. So every day, if I choose to read a book, someone is going to look at Doreen and will say, that girl, I think she's interested in personal development. I think she would actually be interested in this. So because of the choices we make, people already judge us, and because those choices signal identity. So it's important to look at your brand and ask yourself, what are you communicating? What do you identify with? And what group of people are you identifying with? So these are all food for thoughts that you need to think about. And going to the next, the second is triggers. In your environment, in our environment day to day, there are triggers, as we can see in the next point, sights. It could be what someone sees that reminds them of your brand. It could be something someone sees that reminds them of the product you sell. I hope. Another one is smells. It could be someone smelling something and they're like, this reminds me of something. This reminds me of this product. Or it could be sound. It could also be sound. Someone hears something and they automatically remember or think about your brand. It could also be the day of the week. I would love to share the example of Weekend by Eddie Kenzo. When you think of Weekend by Eddie Kenzo, it's highly played over the weekend. Over the weekend, it kind of puts everyone in the spirit of the weekend. So because the weekend acts as a trigger, people are going to stream it. People are going to look it up on YouTube. Those who haven't watched it, they will go and watch it. Why? Because the weekend has acted as a trigger for this song. Yes, so just like then the third principle is emotion. How people feel. How people feel makes them share certain things. Just like we can see in the next point, is when we share, we care. When if I care about someone and they're experiencing a certain situation, I'm likely to recommend something. So does your product bring up certain emotions? Does it, the next one is the power of owl. I'll use this lady here, the one we are seeing in the image there. She's called Susan Boyle. She went on Britain Has Got Talent, and her video got 100 million views in 9 days. So one will ask, what caused this? What made her music go viral? So when she came on the stage, she was quite old compared to most of the people who were there. The way she presented herself, she said she wanted to sing, but already in the whole the judges and everyone who had come to watch her, everyone had already they were already biased. They judged the book by its cover. They were like, okay, she looks old. What more does she have to bring to the table? And boy, when she opened her voice, there was an in the room. Everyone was surprised. Everyone was shocked. So because of that, she actually, Simon Powell ended up signing her. And right now she's signed with his label. So because there was just that about her, there was that surprise. People didn't expect it, So it brought up an emotion in people. So for her, it was an emotion. Just like we can see in the different emotions in the next slide. He categorized different emotions according to how they arouse people. So one of the positive high arousals is the factor of awe, the factor of excitement, the factor of amusement. All these, when people are amused, they want to share, they want to tell their friends. When people are excited, they want to tell their friends. When people are in awe, they want to share, because we want to share good news. We want to spread positivity. We want to tell people about something exciting that we have seen. Again, it gives us social currency, and also contentment is a positive emotion, but it has low arousal, because when people are content, they are relaxed. when people are content, they're just calm. So they're not going to, they're just in that mellow state that they're not really going to be talking about your product. They probably just want to sit and sip a milkshake from Java's, not censored. And then the negative emotion that brings high arousal is anger and anxiety. Always see when a topic is controversial, a topic brings certain anger or anxiety in the public, people are going to talk about, people are going to debate. There'll probably be opposers and proposers. So because of that, people will be talking about your product. You know, people will be talking about the situation that has transpired, all because of anger. I noticed this largely during the campaigns. You know, when people are angry about something, they're going to really talk about it, as opposed to the other negative emotion, which is sadness. When people are sad, they just want to cry, they just want to be, they're just not in that spirit of sharing. You know, they're just in a whole different spirit, which is not, certain people are not going to be on their phone texting their people, you know, different people about your product. They'll probably just be curled up in a blanket and sad. And the third principle, as we can see in the next slide, is, the fourth is public. And this is explained in the next slide more in detail. When people imitate those around them, we can't see what we don't see. So if we can't see it, we can't copy it. If we can't copy it, your brand doesn't have the visibility you hoped it would, you know. So it's important to now start thinking of how can I make my brand from being public to being, from being private to being public. It could be, you know, it could be something like the process of people applying makeup. No, so maybe when you take us through that people are doing in their bedroom while they are putting their makeup, maybe you have buy-in of there is a before and after, but we are seeing the process. So you have managed to bring something private to public. Now people are able to see it and buy into it. And the next point is monkey see, monkey do. Just as it is, monkey see, monkey do. If a monkey doesn't see what is happening, they're not going to do it. If I don't see people going to a certain restaurant, chances are I'm not going to go to that restaurant. If I don't see people eat certain food, I'm not going to eat certain food, you know. If I don't see a certain culture being practiced, I'm not going to do it. It also gives people social proof, knowing that I'm not alone in this. Like there are people who are doing this. I'm reminded of when I was still in school, both primary and high school. Every time maybe they would say we are going to cane people with grades below 50, below average. And you start seeing them call one person, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 people. You get confidence. You're like, it's okay, let me go for my canes. You don't feel like you're alone in this. So you're okay to go and get the cane. So that whole act, it's social proof, knowing that you're not alone in this. You have a whole group of people giving you backup. But that is not possible if it's private. If they were beating people in private, chances I would all be thinking we are alone being beaten. I'm alone. I'm the only one who got 50% or below 50%. So I'm the only one being caned, you know? So it's important to make the private public. And also thoughts are private while behaviors are public, you know? So sometimes, no matter how I may think that what is being done in the public is wrong, I'm not going to, because everyone is doing it, I'm going to think it's the right thing. There was a lady, he gave an example of in college. So in college, people were drinking a lot and they put so many posters, don't drink, drinking, that, you know, the disadvantages of drinking, the effects of drinking to your liver, all the things we know about, all the negative things we know about drinking, you know. But this lady went ahead to now talk to one person at a time. And in her interview, everyone expressed themselves of, I don't like when people drink a lot of alcohol. Like, I'm okay with my 1 glass or 2 glasses and I'm done, you know. But that was everyone's thought. But in the public, when everyone is drinking, they're drinking because they think everyone likes drinking. So they are doing it with bandwagon, out of bandwagon peer pressure. So thoughts are private, but behaviors are public. So it's important to look at your brand differently. And the fifth principle is practical value. So you need to think of your brand. Does it give people, is it practical? Does it give them practical value? People like to share useful information, you know? And for me, my father usually gives, you know, every time I wake up, I'll find maybe a message with a link from Facebook or something that he saw that he thinks may be beneficial to me. It could be word of advice. It could be a clip on certain health issues. It could be a clip on a business idea. So because he cares, he shares that information. So does your information, and the next point, we'll look at, again, the next point, the practical value. Someone is unmuted. Yes, sorry about that. Yes, so also practical value strengthens social bonds. So if you want to travel somewhere and a friend recommends something, a website they saw that is helpful with, you know, with organizing your travels, coming up with your itinerary. So you find that this person becomes their go-to person. A, it gives them social currency. Two, it strengthens their bond between, you know, between the different parties discussing this. So your brand or your product should strengthen, you know, should have useful information that people can pass on to strengthen their bonds. And the next point is like, for example, highlighting discounts. If I know they are selling car tires at 50% discount, I am going to share that information with Alan. Be like, Alan, I know I know your tires ABCD. Now these guys are offering a discount on tires at 50%. So because that information has value, it's going to prompt me to share with Alan. You know, just like the next point says, that putting something on sale. You know, when you put something on sale, I'm going to share. People want to save money. People want to save time. So knowing where these things are happening brings about that word of mouth. People start talking and hence prompting sharing. Again, people love, and you need to understand that people love to help others. You know, just as offers available for a limited time. This, I would like to use the example of happy hour. When people know that between 5 and 7, it's happy hour. You buy one glass of one beer and you get 2 free, or you buy one, you get 1 free. People tend to flood such places, you know, because the offer has a limited window. Like, you know, you have to go at this particular time. So every time you look at areas that offer this, you tend to find them with a big crowd of people, you know, because again, people love to save money, you know. And in the next point, we'll look at another thing under it could be restricting who has access. I don't know how many of you have gone for the Alchemist branch, you know, but with the Alchemist branch, it would, before Corona hit and the lockdown happened, it would have one branch every once a month. And getting into this branch, my God, it wasn't easy. You had to like book 3 months prior, because when you book like 1 month, they'll tell you we are fully booked. So they restricted who had access. And because they restricted those who had access, those who managed to come felt like insiders. You know, they felt they're like insiders, so they are going to happily share it on their status. They're going to happily talk about it with their family and friends. So that act makes people talk about it more, because Ayola. And the other principle, sorry, the other way to give practical value is people love helping others. That's the whole message about practical value. So your information may seem like it's not important, But because it's useful and people love to help others, people are going to share what you're sharing, what you talk about. People are going to share what you do because they're trying to be helpful to those around them. Then the last but not least is stories. Stories. I would have talked about different statistics and none of you would remember them. But somehow, somewhere, some of you may remember the other story of the alchemist or the please don't tell. Now, one case is Robin Benson. He was a Canadian guy. He went for the Olympics and he dressed the way you're seeing him. And on him, whole write-up of goldenplace.com. So he goes to the Olympics. People have been training and he hasn't. He decides to get on and jump. He hit his stomach flat. It must have hurt. But either way, he actually got 5 months of jail. So what he did went viral. But what people were talking about kept changing with time. Some felt he wasted people's time. Some felt, why would he get such an opportunity when everyone else had been practicing for so long? Why? You know, so different people, but now they talked about him, what he was dressed, the sentence he's going to get. But no one was talking about goldenplace.com. The focus was different. The focus was on him. The focus was on his jail. The focus was on the action he did. And I would like to compare that with this other story of Never Say No to Panda. So this gentleman and his son are moving in the supermarket and they have been doing shopping the entire time. So the boy tells the dad, I would love, the panda cheese. The dad is like, no, our cart is already full. And then out of the blue, a panda comes around and gives him this whole bad stare and then throws down his cart. His cart steps down on everything they had bought. And, he tells them never say no to panda. And he gets the panda cheese and gives and puts it in their face and says, never say no to panda. Now, it's difficult to tell the panda story without talking about the panda because the panda is just there. The cheese is panda. There is a relationship, So it's difficult, I would bet, to talk about the panda story without talking about never say no to panda. Even the statement he was saying had panda in it. So as someone is moving through the cheese aisle, they're probably going to look at the panda and at the panda cheese and want to buy it. So which is very different from Rob Benston. While his content, what he did went viral, but the focus of people was not goldenplace.com, And in the next slide, we'll talk about the importance of stories or what stories mean to many people. People think in terms of narrative, not information. If people give so much information, this information, as we tell stories, it keeps dropping out. So make sure that what the elements that remain constant in your story are what exactly you want people to talk about. Don't focus on people just talking. Focus on what people should talk about. Don't be like Ron. Be like, say no, please say no to pandas. And people also use stories as vessels. People use stories to tell, to pass on information. You remember our ancient, at least I know I used to sit with my grandmother. She had so many stories, but every story had a reason. There was a reason she would tell us this story. There were always lessons to be learned, And the next point is make virality valuable. Again, I can't stress this enough. The point is not just go viral. The point is, why are we going viral? What information are people going to talk about when they talk about this video that went viral? Are we going to be like Susan Boyle, who got 100 million views in 9 days because of now people, I'm sure everyone feels like, we judged her too soon. Never judge a book by its cover, like there is a treasure hidden in everyone, or never say no to panda, as opposed to Ron. Also, so to achieve that, you need to make sure that your critical details stick around. Like I said, you can't say never say no to panda without mentioning panda. Yes, so it was such a catchphrase for them, as well as the advert they had. You could go on YouTube and look at it to understand the concept behind it. So make sure that in whatever way you're trying to market your product, that as the story is being told from party to party, they don't lose the critical details, because it's the critical details you want people to have, the critical details about your product, about the organization you're trying to promote, about what you do, you know, about where your area of focus and all that. So make sure that your critical details stick around in your story. Yes. So that was the last principle. And in conclusion, I would love us to go to the chat and maybe share what principle has stood out for us in just 2 minutes or less. Let's just share what principle has stood out for us. We had social currency, we had triggers, we had emotion, we had the use of stories. So, and to mention but a few, which one stands out for you? Let's bring it in the chat and see. Stood out for you in the 7 principles? What can you apply in your next, as you try to market your brand, as you try to market your organization? Philip Kilroa says, thanks a lot, Doreen. I have learned that we must have purpose in every time we communicate. Every time we communicate. Yes, it's very important to have purpose. If you don't have purpose in your communication, you end up being like Ron and now being used as a reference in whatever story. But we are talking about Ron, not what he was, the stand, no, not the writings he had. Alan Kakinda talks about practical value. He says, practical value stood out for me, especially discounts, sales, offers for a limited time. A minute. Yeah, for a limited time and restricted access. It is interesting how some companies use these tricks to get us to use their products or services. That's quite, yeah, that's so true. Daisy says, given the Cafe Java's situation over the past few days, story is the one hitting me right now. Though my personal favorite is practical value. Exactly. Story, and that story is going to live longer than many of us. You know, Patience says stories. I have always used this and it works. Thank you, Doreen. Thank you to Jesse says, I liked the point on stories, because while facts tell, stories sell. They are more memorable, captivating, and interesting. Thank you all for your contributions. And James Katumba says, thanks, Doreen, for the wonderful review. Stories are powerful. They stick more. Exactly. Stories stick more. So we can go just to give you a wrap-up of everything we have shared, which is on the next slide. One is social currency. We share what makes us look good. No one wants to look bad. We want to look cool. We want to look like we are the know-it-all. We want to look like we know more. We want to look like we know many places. So whatever makes us look good, that's social currency. Alan also says, facts tell, stories sell. That's a quotable quote. Actually, yeah, we are definitely going to quote it. Just a thank you. And the next one was triggers. What's top of mind is top of tongue. You know, if the weekend is on top of the mind, I'm probably going to talk about The Weekend by Eddie Kenzo. Emotion, when people care, they share, you know, when people care, they share. And the next principle was public. What is built to show is built to grow, you know, because again, people are influenced by what others do. So when you make the private public, people are going to talk about it. Then practical value, news you can sell, news you can use. So make sure that whatever you're doing is useful to others, you know, let it not just be things for, just like Philip has said, it should be purposed, it should have an intention. And last one is stories. Information travels under guise of idle chatter. Chances are, if we're just having tea, you know, we're just talking here and here, a lot through that chatter, a lot is thrown in. It could be, man, where are we going this weekend? Or the Cafe Java's situation, you know, something. It's all in that information. And again, our focus for this is to make sure that word of mouth is what sells our brand more. Because yes, while we advertise, which is good, while we advertise and promote our products, we need to remember that, let's first go back to the next slide. The importance of all this is that people, if I recommend something to you, you're going to trust it more. Well, during advertisement, every person advertising is trying to make themselves and their brand look good. So no one is going to give you all what is not good and what doesn't. So to get this information, we rely on our friends, which is why we need to use the steps of the principles we have given. 1, social currency. 2, triggers. 3, emotion. 4, public. 6, practical value. 5, practical value, and 6, stories. So use those steps to market and put your information and what you do out there. And now a few quotes we got from the book. Our social influence is stronger when behaviors are more observable. Remember, we talked about monkey see, monkey do. People can't do what they don't see. We are going to copy what we see. So social influence is stronger when behavior is more observable. And the next quote is, rather than harping on features and facts, we need to focus on feelings and underlying emotions that motivate people to action. You know, those feelings that make us share this article with our daughter, those feelings that make us share this sale with Alan, those emotions that, you know, emotions, when we feel something, we are going to share. If Daisy is going through something, I'm going to share that link that I saw about depression. I don't mean she's depressed, but I mean, because I care about her, I'm probably going to share the other link that I saw. And the last quote is, when trying to generate word of mouth, people focus so much on getting people to talk that they ignore the part that really matters, which is what people are talking about. This, we saw that Ron fell prey to it during the Olympics in 2004. He just jumped. But yeah, people talked about him, but they didn't talk about the casino he was trying to promote. Whereas the panda advert, people are going to talk about the panda as well, and the panda cheese. So make sure that you don't focus on only virality, but also focus on what people are talking about. Control the narrative. Control the narrative. And I think news does this a lot. They really do control the narrative and get all of us talking about a certain perspective they want us to talk about. And these were the 3 important quotes I thought I would share with you. Thank you all for attending today. Thank you for being interested in personal growth. Thank you for choosing Eagle-Light Book Club for your personal growth. Over to you, Alan.
Wow. Doreen, thank you so much for that wonderful review. I think you've done the book justice. Anyone who has read it and has followed the review, or even those who haven't read it, I think there's a lot of value in the book. And so I've totally enjoyed the entire review. Yep, lots of comments in the chat as well. So people are thanking you and they're saying wonderful presentation. I hope that makes you feel good about yourself and all the hard work you put in to be able to prepare. Yeah, Daisy has the best comment for you. Beautifully and confidently done. Thank you for the review, Doreen. Yeah, so we have a couple of minutes. So I wouldn't want us to go without reflecting. What Doreen has done is pick really key things from the book, but there are lots of things that could have stood out for you as well that we want you to highlight as well for the rest of the team or the rest of the group that are reading or enjoying this book. I'll go first in spirit of what principle am I applying? Social currency, because Doreen has made it cool to know things about this book. So I'll go first. I think for me, one of the things I picked up from the book, especially so the whole point of practical value and how sales are done, the book shares a lot around this. One of the things that caught my eye was when he talked about the rule of 100. So when you're doing discounts, so the book goes deeper than what Doreen has been sharing. So when you're doing discounts, there's a way you're supposed to do them that makes it more effective. So the rule of 100 is, I think, around, this is probably best in the US, but I'm sure if we did something for Uganda, we can find our right formula. But if you're going to advertise a product and the product costs more than, if it costs more than $100, it's better to give a to mention the money value of the discount and not a percentage. So, okay, there are two ways you can give a discount. You can say 100% off or 50% off or something like that. So if it costs more than $100, it's better to say the value, $25 off or something like that. That sounds more. And then if it's less than $100, it's better to do a percentage. The percentage will always sound better, sound like it's a better deal than the money value discount. So that's something I picked up. And I think for me, this book has gotten me interested in an area of economics called behavior economics, because it's very interesting how you can understand people's minds and use that to your advantage as a business. So over to you, members, to share any comments, views, or things that you found interesting. No, I don't want to pick names. James, I think I'll go with you first.
Well, for me, my last comment on the chat was regarding, I kept thinking a hybrid of all the principles.
Mm-hmm.
I kept thinking in my mind, how can I get to a place where I see how I can integrate some of the principles instead of picking out one. I pick like a story. In the story you put in triggers. So it's something I'm still reflecting through as Doreen was sharing. Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. So finding a hybrid of social currency, triggers, emotion in the public, practical value, and stories. Yeah.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Okay. Daisy.
Yeah, I had a feeling you were going to pick me next. But as Doreen was sharing, Doreen, thank you. This was a wonderful high-level exposition on the book. Thank you so much. I was reflecting particularly on Instagram because of the visual appeal and the whole visual storytelling and all of that happens on Instagram. And I was thinking of the way certain companies or certain influencers or individuals create experiences and they turn it into a challenge. And so like the latest thing is the crate challenge. Who started that ridiculous thing? I have no idea. But so it was like, I was just thinking back to things that people do on Instagram, especially Instagram, but also on TikTok. The things that people do to create that whole combination of social currency and the public monkey see, monkey do. And in some cases, they either attach practical value to it or a story around it or tie an emotion around it. So it was going in a slightly different tangent to what James was trying to put together. But as Doreen was sharing, I was thinking through all the successful influencers I've seen on Instagram in particularly, and some of the things that they do, and being able to tag an activity to one of these principles has really been helping me to see, oh wow, so that's why this person does this or created that challenge or started this whole makeup trend or things like that. So thank you.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I think, reading this book and then going back to see what people who have viral content are doing and then comparing, you actually get to see that there is a lot of merit to the stuff he's talking about and that the stuff actually works. Derek, you're welcome. We're at the point of reflection, so I don't know if...
Thank you. I'll just listen to the reflections.
Yeah, but we have the recording, so we'll be able to share that. So don't
So,
worry.
thanks. Thank you.
Philip, did you want to say something?
Not right now.
Okay. Patience.
Well, okay, for me, viral shield. I hope that's what Doreen meant. It's having a purpose. So, because I realized we've been really trying to increase our likes on Facebook, and I'm like, okay, we want the likes to increase and the views and all that, but are we meeting the right targets that the target people, the target audiences? Yeah. So it really triggered to me like we should maybe find like people who need these services, like maybe certain groups and all that, and we make sure that that information is viral in those places. That is when it can be able to be valuable to us. Yeah.
Yeah, I think, Patience, you mentioned a critical point. One of the reasons actually I'm the one who picked up this book, and when we were asked to what book we are going to read for the month of August, I feel like, so a lot of our strategy as a company, as Eagle Light Associates, has been, we are just passing on facts, information. And yes, some people catch it, but very few. I felt like we need to change something about what we are doing to be able to get people's attention, to get people to share our content and stuff like that. And so I think for anyone actually who is running a business or who is providing services, I think this is a very valuable book with very practical tips on things you can do to change. Because I think sometimes when we get into business, we are naive. We just want to tell people, come, I provide the best service. People don't care about that. I provide the best service. We are the best coaches and all that. Yes, you may be the best coaches, but there are specific things that are going to trigger people to get excited about your product or service. And unless you're doing those, you're really going to be struggling. I think that's what I feel like. And I feel like that's the difference knowing this information can make for anyone who is running a business or who is providing a product or service. So knowing the difference between, I think like Jesse said, facts tell, but stories are the ones that sell. So knowing that it looks like a minute detail, but it makes all the difference. Agnes, did you want to share something before we can conclude? Okay, so Agnes says no, please, next time. So thank you so much for joining. No pressure at all. Yeah, but thank you so much, members, for joining the book club book review once again. And thank you, Doreen, for that awesome and wonderful review. Lots of people who have listened to it are saying it was an excellent review and a wonderful presentation. So thank you for the great job done. We hope everyone has benefited from it. Doreen, do you have any parting shots for us before we can wrap this up?
Well, much as we have all, we are drawn to specific principles in the steps, I will say James Katumba talking about the hybrid, looking at the hybrid of all the principles and seeing how best you can use them could be a good thing. I think it's also important to have purpose in what exactly do you want to achieve? What do I want to achieve? Ask yourself why. I think many times we don't ask ourselves why, the question of why a lot. We just do, we just push information here and there. So when you sit down and ask, okay, I'm doing this post, what do I want to get out of it? Beyond, I want the followers, I want the likes, but what message am I trying to push out there? What? Why? Why am I doing this? What am I doing? So when we ask ourselves those questions, it kind of helps us when point down exactly the area of focus we want to put out there. And once we do that, I think we'll go far with our marketing of our products, of our organizations, in whatever capacity. Yeah, so it begins from answering why am I doing this? What do I want to achieve out of this? Thank you, Alan.
Thank you so much, Doreen, and I think you wrap it up well. So it's not just about having a checklist of the principles. You still need to answer the fundamental questions: what, why, and how. And then once you answer the fundamentals, then the steps can help you get it viral. So thank you so much. Dee, can you give us a closing prayer and then we'll call it a day?
Thank you, and absolutely. And thank you so much, Doreen, once again, for such a powerful reflection on the book. I am now encouraged to go and buy and read it more in depth. So let's close our time together with a word of prayer. Father God, we thank you because all wisdom comes from you. All knowledge under the sun is from you. And we thank you for this opportunity that you've given us, the technology, the data, the internet connection that has enabled all of us to get together and reflect on this book about Contagious and why things catch on. We thank you for Doreen, who has very expertly led us through this reflection. We thank you for every person who has participated in this call. And we thank you for the leadership of Eagle Light and their choice for this book in this season. Lord, we know we're in a time where we have to do many things differently, live differently, work differently, pray differently, just have a different approach to life, one that is more meaningful and more intentional. So we thank you for the timing of this book that you have shared with us through our sister Doreen. And we pray that each of us on the call and those who are going to receive the recording will take nuggets of gold from this and apply them to their own lives in work, in business, in family, in other relationships, wherever you wish them to do so. So as we end this call, Lord, we pray for a great evening and a weekend full of rest and reflection, so that when the week comes, we are ready and energized to do things differently in a manner that is contagious and that will draw others to our service of excellence, but also closer to you. We thank you and pray all this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Amen. Bye-bye, everyone. Thank you so much for coming.
Bye, Daisy. Thank you for the prayer.
You're welcome, Doreen. Bye.
Bye.
Hi,
Thank
Doreen.
you. Thank you for the
Thank you
slides.
too.
You really came through for me, and yeah, so thank you.
You're welcome. Good job. Great job. You did the book justice.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Have a good weekend.